Hey church, Pastor Alan, First United Methodist Church, Georgetown. How about a budget and building update here in the middle of the summer? Let's talk about the budget. First of all, we want to continue to celebrate and thank you for your generosity, for your faithfulness in our capital funds campaign. Just a few weeks ago, we announced our campaign overall pledge commitment, and it was fascinating, and it was powerful, and it was just such a joy to watch you return those commitment cards. In total, to date, we've had 306 commitments turned in to our 3-year capital funds campaign. The total amount committed is $6.563 million. That is 109.38% of the goal, not that anybody's counting. To date, we have received in hand $1.74 million of that commitment, which is very good and very healthy. And in our current building fund balance, we have $1.58 million. So we're set up really well to continue to prepare for this project. Let's talk about our ministry budget. So we've been real focused on the capital funds campaign and the capital funds project and the costs there. But we also have our ministry budget, which continues to need to be supported. At the end of June, so we're 6 months through the year, our offerings have exceeded our budget by $2,200. Our offerings have exceeded our budget. That's good. That's really good, especially here in the middle of the summer. This time last year, we were behind that $141,000. So we're $141,000 ahead in offerings where we were this time last year. That's really something to celebrate. And then in our overall 2025 budget, we currently have a surplus. Surplus is such a good word this time of year in the summer. We have a budget surplus, friends. We have a budget surplus of $52,000. This time last year, we were looking at a deficit, at a loss of $155,000. So even while we've been focusing on our capital funds campaign, you've remained faithful and generous to our ministry budget, and I want to thank you so much. It's just usually here in the summer, we see things really slow down, and we have to start looking around and worrying about things, and we're not having to do that this summer. So thank you, church. Thank you. How about a building update? Lots of building updates, actually. Let's start with some things that have happened in the last month or two, maybe things that you haven't heard about. Maybe we've talked about in a small group here and there, but we haven't really made a video or something that's gone in the newsletter. We've had several small groups meet with our architect throughout the last couple of months to talk about some of the more specific parts of the design. We've been looking at this chancel space. We've been working with Mark and some choir members there. We've been meeting with the Stirring over in the MCMC to talk about the stage and the setup of the stage and that space. Just this morning, a couple building committee members were meeting with some of the office staff to talk about our office needs. We still plan to have those restrooms in our office area. That's going to be such a benefit to those of you that are here in the sanctuary. And these meetings have been going on. We had the architect meet with our children's ministry department. So Tina Shramey, and you know Tina served in children's ministry for over 15 years. And Liz Bailey, our new children's ministry director, and Sarah Pyle Shackelford, our new learning tree director, have all met with the architect to give input about the nursery and its positioning. There's a lot of little intricacies to figure out as we look to put that together. So all of this has been going on. Yesterday, which is going to be, what is today? It's Wednesday. It's a good week, y'all. On Tuesday, Jason Habengrather, your building chair, Vance Mitchell, your trustee chair, also serving on the building committee, and myself went to Austin, and we interviewed 3 different general contractors as we prepare to do RFPs and request their information. So we met with 3 people, 3 general contractors yesterday. Our hope is to have our general contractor in place by September so that they can be part of the pre-construction process. And then we've had 2 large updates with our HVAC system. And we shared this update at a couple of meetings, but you may not have heard this. We had a mechanical engineering firm do a big study of our air conditioning needs in two main buildings, the education building, which is where the choir meets, which is where the fellowship hall is and the office space, and the Atkins Learning Center, which is where the children's ministry is, the youth ministry, the learning tree. They did a big review and came back and told us some really good news. They told us that in the Atkins Learning Center, that unit actually has about 3 or more years left in it. So our critical need is in the education building. That's where the rusty pipes are. That's where we're really concerned and probably should have gotten on this several years ago. This is huge for us. This means that we can take that big part of the project in the Atkins Learning Center and delay it several years, which helps us with our loan, which helps us with our budget. Furthermore, they told us that when we do need to replace it, it will only need to be replaced their large mechanical units. We will not need to replace ducts. We won't need to go into walls. We won't need to go into ceilings. This is big. This was a very, very great thing to learn. A huge savings in our budget and a huge savings in kind of the timeline of our budget. And also with HVAC, we had a congregation member step up that has a lot of experience, a lifetime of experience working with churches and air conditioning systems and setting up air conditioning systems. So we want to say thank you to Tom Paxson. Tom came and stepped up to attend several meetings to give some input, and his input and his guidance has really helped steer the last few steps of the decisions, which is going to have significant savings. I don't want to guess on this video what it is, but what he's providing us and showing us is going to be some really wonderful savings. As we look to the HVAC in the education building, again, that's that middle building. Part of it was built in 1930. The other part was built maybe 20 or 30 years ago. In the older part of that building, there's not enough room in the ceiling for a traditional air conditioning system. And so they're suggesting a VRF, which is a real nice, almost the Cadillac version of an air conditioning system. And then in the newer spots, there's more space in the ceiling for ductwork and things of that nature. And so for that, we're not going to use VRF. We're going to look at rooftop units. Maybe larger than we have at our house, but something similar to that. That hybrid approach is still being figured out with our mechanical engineers. We haven't committed ourselves to either one of those, but that's the current plan. And overall, this really brings down that cost of the HVAC part of our program, which you recall was a very significant part of our dollars. So there's an HVAC update for you. Here's some things we don't know yet. We don't know yet an exact timeline. We don't know exactly when we're going to be out of our Sunday school rooms. We don't know exactly when we'll be out of the MCMC, out of the sanctuary. We know that those times will be significant, and we're planning how that will work. We're planning if we're going to do one side of the street and then do the other side of the street versus doing all of it at one time. What's the value of that? We still need to have an operational space. We still need to have a space for worship. Do we have that here on site? Do we have that somewhere else? What's the cost of that? So all of that is still coming together in the next month or so, but we don't yet know the timeline. We can't tell a Sunday school class, we're certain you're going to be out for this many weeks in this timeline, but that is coming, and some work that needs to be done. We do continue to plan to start the overall construction plan, the construction process, probably very early summer or after Easter of next year. So that seems a long, long way away, but in the permitting process and the communicating with the city, getting your general contractors lined up, ordering those first large units, some of them that could take months and months to be delivered, it's actually not that far away, but it certainly feels strange to have our commitment Sunday, to put our offerings in the plate for our capital funds campaign, and now to be in this season where there's still a lot of work going on, but we're not seeing anything visually changing. So I know that that's difficult for us, but that time is coming when this place will become a construction site. Next, How can you know more about what's going on? How can you have your questions answered? How can you see the images that we're able to see right now from our architects? I'm going to offer two different options for you. The first option would be more of a one-on-one opportunity to meet with me. I'm going to call this Coffee with a Pastor. Coffee with a Pastor. There's going to be 5 different times for this. 3 of them will be on Sunday morning in August. So August 10th, 17th, and 24th, in between services from 9:45 to 10:15. 9:45 to 10:15, I'm going to be in my office, which is kind of behind the playground. If you haven't found it, we'll have signs and arrows and things like that. But this would be a place for you to come in my office. I'll have all the drawings, as much as we have, laying out. You can see, maybe you've got a particular question that you've been wanting to ask, something that you're very interested in, a certain part of the project. That would be a time to ask those questions. Coffee with the Pastor. So there's those 5 dates, August 10th, 17th, 24th, and then, I didn't say this earlier, on Wednesday, August 13th and 20th from 11 to noon. So 5 times there. Of course, if you can't make any of those times and you have your own question, call in and we'd like to get the answers to you. So this would be a one-on-one type setting or a small group setting, Coffee with the Pastor. And then at the very end of August and early September, we want to host a more group setting informational update, a building project update. We've got 4 on the calendar right now. One is going to be August 31st. This is a Sunday after church at 12:30 in the fellowship hall. Fellowship hall so that we can have some snacks, because that's a time of the day to have some snacks. And then later that week, September 3rd on Wednesday, M&Mers, I'm going to come visit you at 10 a.m. So we'll have a building project update at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, September 3rd. And then 2 on Thursday, 1 in the morning at 10 a.m. at the Wesleyan. I want to go down to the Wesleyan and visit with anybody there that may have some questions or want this information. That would be Thursday, September 4th, 10 a.m. And then that evening at 6 p.m. here in the sanctuary. September 4th, Thursday, 6 p.m. in the sanctuary. That's 4 different times where myself, and I'm going to invite building committee members to be part of that so that we can kind of go through everything that we know up to that point. We'll probably have more images, we'll probably have more design work. I'm not exactly sure everything we'll have in place by then, but we'll want to give you as much update as we can. And then at any time, there's a place that you can ask your questions online. So on our website, on FUMCGT.org/building, FUMCGT.org/building. On that page is a place that you can submit a question. And that automatically sends that question to myself and to Jason Habengrather, the building chair, and we'll turn around as quickly as we can to respond to that. All right, so there's how you can know more and learn more and hear more and see more. One more piece of this that I want to share today is the United Methodist Church has a process that churches have to go through if they want to do big building projects, if they want to buy property. There's a process for this. It's part of who we are as a connectional church. And so there's a United Methodist approvals process. Some of you may have gone through this before at other churches. The first step, there's 4 meetings. The first meeting is a meeting that the building committee has with the South District Committee, a South District Committee. That will happen around mid-August. That's already on the books for mid-August. The second step is the one where you're involved. The second step is the Called Church Conference. A Called Church Conference is the big church vote, okay? That is going to be either September 8th or September 11th. That's a Monday or a Thursday at 6 p.m. Those 2 dates are on our district superintendent's calendar, and as we get closer to that date, we'll clarify which day we're picking, and we'll go from there. So this would be an all-church gathering here in the sanctuary where we come to vote yes or no on the proposal from the building committee. Now, it won't be a time for amendments or digging in and making changes. Hopefully, by that day, when we meet for that meeting, you've had all of your questions answered. When we gather for a Called Church Conference, that's not our time to raise a question that hasn't been asked yet. It's not like sometimes we think of a town hall where people come and share their concerns and things. We want to hear that now. We want to hear that through this process of coffee with a pastor, with the building project updates. We want to gather in the evening here and celebrate all that's gone on. We're going to celebrate the capital funds campaign. We're going to celebrate the hard work of the building committee that would have gone for almost 2 years at this point when we're gathering. We do hope at that time to know who the general contractor is, to be in pre-construction with them, and then we will present preliminary plans, which kind of means we're going to present everything we have at the moment. It won't be absolutely finalized. The drawings may not be stamped, may not be the very, very final, but we'll have a very clear sense of where we're going and what we're committing ourselves to. So that's the called church conference. That's the big church votes where anybody on our rolls, anybody that's a member of the church would be invited to show up and to affirm this plan that we're moving forward on. That's the second meeting. There's 2 more. The third would be another South District Committee meeting with the building committee. That is to show the detailed plans, any final things that we need. We'll talk about when we believe we'll need a loan and where we're going to get the loan from and what that's going to look like. Those are the very final steps. And then the fourth meeting is a called charge conference. So before we had a church conference, all church vote, this is a charge conference, which means that our executive council will gather with the district superintendent or a representative to give the very last final vote, to look at all of the details and say, this is where we want to go. We want to finish this process of 4 meetings by the end of October. And that's important for us because it will be time to start purchasing large units. Let's say we know in the HVAC system we need some large different units for that, and it may take several months to arrive, hopefully not even longer. But we need to go ahead and get those orders in. We want to wait until the approvals process is complete before we start spending really large sums of money. You know that we're already spending some money on this. We're paying for an architect and our project managers. We paid for our capital funds campaign consultant. So there are charges going on, but we want to reserve the largest until we get this completely through. So friends, there is 2 pages of updates on the budget and the building. And I didn't even get a time to share about all the ministry that's going on this summer. I didn't have time to talk about how absolutely amazing Project Transformation has been this summer. We have some fantastic interns this year. These young college-age interns, they're doing such a great job down the hall with Project Transformation. VBS was a huge success. Youth Palooza is going on right this very week. In fact, my family's at Schlitterbahn right now as I'm recording this. And we had music camp, which was just amazing. We've had a great response to our flood buckets and our needs for the floods in the area. It's just been a wonderful summer. Thank you for being part of that. Thank you so much for being such a great church. It is a joy and an honor to be here and to be serving you in this season of this amazing, caring church. So friends, thank you so much. If you have any questions, reach out. I will be unplugging for a couple weeks of vacation. My family's heading to New Mexico and Colorado, and we'll re-engage in early August, and catch me then. So friends, thank you for hearing this long update. If you're still listening to this, you're a champion and you're a rock star. Thank you all. Have a good day.